Hello, my name is Justin Johnson. I am part of Group A, or Team Hack. We are going to go through the running case for basically all the cases that we went through throughout the semester. And we're going to break it up into sections so that way everybody has a section to talk about in this video presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and start with task one. Task one is a summarization of projects for the running case. Basically what it is we created a memo where we sent it to the top management so that way they had a list of all the suggested projects that we have for the company. You suggest a certain number of the projects that will help out throughout the business, that'll fulfill the business model and the strategy of the company, and you'll give them the benefits of those projects. And then you get into task two, which is an evaluation of the suggested projects with the weighted decision matrix. Basically, it's the same thing, but you're breaking it down into a little bit more detail. You're talking about stuff such as the, criteria, the different things like the customer sponsors, how important is it to them, and you take it and you break it down and you weigh it basically on a percentage. So you talk about the, key sections of the project, why it is important to you or to the company itself, and why it would be important to create these projects, so that way we can get the right project selected from the top management, and you give them a little bit more numbers so that way they can take a look at that. And task three, we went into a business case for the suggested projects, which goes into even more detail. It's not numbers based, this is more into your words. You don't have the percentages and the charts of that nature. But we talk about the business objectives, some of the assumptions and constraints, and even some of the analysis that might be done throughout this project that gets selected. And actually, during this time, it is selected that they pick the Recreation and Wellness Internet project, which is the one that we go throughout the whole semester. It ends up being, basically the core surrounding of all the running cases. We even talk about the potential risk within that project that could be associated with the Recreation and Wellness project. Then we break down into task four, which is a project charter. The project charter is pretty self-explanatory. It presents the project objectives and what the criteria for success will be. I mean, you have to have a goal, or you have to know what the key is to success, so that way you can be successful. Your project will get off the ground and actually have an ending that isn't a waste of money. Let's see. Then after that, we go into actually on that charter, you also have some of the preliminary roles, and you got a spot where you can create the roles and responsibilities. You got sign-offs. That way we get everything in writing and get it to where everybody knows what their preliminary roles and responsibilities are to get this project started. After that, we go into task five, which is a change request. Here we were asked to come up with basically, a fictitious problem that you might run into throughout a project, and how to fill out a form, basically, so that way you can change either the scope or the schedule. And for this one, we came up with the idea of, having a hardware shipment not show up on time, which was set back the schedule. So we put in a change request form to extend our scheduling for this whole project because we didn't have the hardware to, even start the project to begin with. You can't start it if you ain't got the tools for it. And then we went into task six. And task six is the requirements for data collection. And I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, but there's actually a lot more that goes into it than you would think. It sets the standard for the data collection for the Recreation and Wellness Internet project. In this project, we utilize a survey. So since we're talking about a survey, you want to know how are you going to initialize a survey? How are you going to give it to the people? How long do they have to turn in the survey? What are you going to do with the survey once you get it? How do you want it back? Do you want it in an email? Are we going to get paper forms? Stuff of that nature. After that, we have task 7, which is the scope statement, which is basically the outline of the Recreation and Wellness Internet project. You got the deliverables, you have some of the constraints, we have some of the key success factors, which are huge. You got to know how to be successful. If you don't know what factors you have to accomplish to become successful, how are you ever going to complete this project? So, the scope is huge. Task 8 was a work breakdown structure, and it's pretty much what it sounds like, though that's pretty self-explanatory. It's a step-by-step breakdown of the different actions that need to be taken before or even during when the project starts. So you have stuff as of hiring people, setting the meetings, creating the schedule, making the calendar, stuff of that nature. But it's broke down into like a list. And you take that list for task 9, which is your Gantt chart. So you take the list and you can implement it into a Gantt chart, which will give you a basically flow of how the project should happen. And in that Gantt chart, you can have everything from your start times, your end times. You can set milestones and stuff of that nature based on everything that came up within the Task 8 work breakdown. And finally, for me, I'm going to have Task 10 as well, which will finish up basically our second running case. And Task 10 was the scope validation. And once again, scope is huge. I mean, it's basically the whole layout of the program, so you got to make sure you get that validated. And it is what it sounds like. It's a way to confirm with the stakeholders and the management and have everybody on the same page before we start the project. And that way you can have everybody, have the same idea. So the flow runs together. We're not having a conflict of interest. People aren't missing information and stuff of that nature. That way you get the CEOs involved, your top management involved. You also have your stakeholders involved. So that way everybody is exactly on the same page. And that was the final task that I have. So I look forward to the rest of my team to go ahead and completing this project. So until next time, thank you.
Hi, my name is Bridget Butler, and I am with Team Hattrick Group A, and I will be doing a continuation on the task. I will be doing 11 through 17. Let's get started. So in task 11, we had to do the resource duration and estimate, where basically we just used a formula that tied together the duration of the MIH project, the amount of work that would be required of each team member, and the resources we would need to complete the whole entire project. And that would let us meet our deadline as well. That was task 11. In task 12, we had to do a milestone paper, which generally was just a chart. And the chart divided the workload and the data, and then we had to add comments as necessary. As well, we had to estimate our cost and just to stay within our budget for the milestone paper. Now, with the task, that was task 12, sorry. In task 13, we had to do a giant chart, and network diagram, where basically we had to build a chart showing the amount of work that was done or we had completed in a period of time. So basically we had a time frame to complete each section of the project, where it was given a time frame. And so basically the chart looked at as if, say we had to do an app, and the app was, we had a certain amount of time to complete the app. And that's what the giant chart showed as far as that goes. So that was task 13. And task 14 was the resources assessment, where we had to either the project manager and the team itself, we had to work together in organizing the assigned task, and if any additional help needed to be done, or if any additional work needed to be done that the team or the project manager couldn't do, then the project manager would hire more staff or hire more resources to get the job done, just to get the MIH project done in a time frame that was appropriate, basically. And so that was task 14. Okay. And so in task 15 was the activity cost assessment. Now, with the activity cost assessment, we had to figure out uh, what each thing would cost. We would have to figure out what each part of the project would cost, basically, and to figure out, and just to stay on budget as well. So, say the Manager Health app costed roughly around I'd say 2,000. So we would have to estimate each part of the project just to stay within budget. So that was the activity cost estimate, to estimate our what we would pay our workers and our engineering and whatever the project needed, what we needed to the cost, how much it would cost, and how much it would be for the whole project. Sorry. That was task 15. So in task 16, it was the cost baseline. Now for the cost baseline, we had to figure out how much the MYH, Manager Health project, was going to cost in a whole lump sum, and then how we were going to spend it wisely. So that was the cost baseline. And task 17 was the cost forecast and earned value management, where we had to manage our time wisely for the amount for the months allowed. So we only had 6 months to complete the project. So the MIH project was 6 months, and then as well to stay in budget. So basically from 11 to 17, it was just managing our time and our money, and just to, complete the project in a timely manner. So that was 11 through 17, and I guess that's it. So I guess until next time, bye.
Hello, my name is Jason. I will be explaining my current assignment for chapter 7 through chapter 9. Our team is Hacked Group Project. So let me go ahead and go with our chapter 7, where the main goal was we had to create a activity cost estimates. Basically, we had to make a estimate of how much money we were going to be spending an hour for our employees. Also, with a project manager being $100 an hour, or $60 an hour for other project teams. We had to make a sheet, 1-page printout on how we can determine which certain program will be costing at the end, because our estimate budget was to be only $200,000. We created a WBS sheet for project management, requires definition, website development and testing, and also training programs. The cost baseline we also created was to make sure we made everything more detailed on the sheet, so we can actually look into it and figure out what is what. The cost forecast earned value management was also determined with a PV, an EV, and an AC sheet, where we determine how much we can calculate by subtracting and division to make sure we are within the budget if we were to make any type of adjustments. The base in that one for a 6-month project was also determined with a $200,000 budget. For chapter 8 for week 8, we determined to run a case for that one was to create quality matrix. We developed a list of quality standards, requirements related to meeting the stakeholder expectations. This is basically just making a brief description of all the requirements. 90% of the employees have logged into the system within 2 weeks after the system rolls out, so we had to make sure all the quality matrix was in line. Also, we created a quality control measurements. This was based on the information we recently received throughout the whole running case. This was part of a training program to track who can attend the training, who will also build feature to the system track. We determine other criterias and any adjustments that needs to be added in this quality control measurements we can add and adjust. And also the Pareto chart is determine interest levels. So we had to create a chart for our program, how many people was interested in the programs that we had available. The type of programs we had was the rocking program, requested programs, also included volleyball, weight reduction class, stop smoking class, stress reduction class, soccer program, and softball program. We did had a chart of which people was most interested, which at the end result we found out that weight reduction class was the most people that requested to be the program. It was a lot easier to determine what people would like to be involved. The least was the soccer program, so that will probably most likely be taken off the program because it would be the most least. It was almost maybe 2% of the whole entire people who actually determined to want to be in that class. So this was very helpful to determine how much people was interested in the program so we could put more focus on making that happen. It was created in a spreadsheet in Excel with all the data and following table shows everything detailed with a bar graph as well. Also, we go ahead to chapter 9, which we decided to go ahead and do a responsibility assessment matrix. This is based with the following information we have received the main task. This is including testing, writing the test plan, unit testing, integration testing for each main system module, like registration, tracking, and incentives. The system testing, and user acceptance testing, in addition for the project team members, they had to be make sure there would be quality matrix where we can look upon. The project manager will look upon this to make sure any adjustment needs to be done. We also prepared a RACI chart to help clarify the roles and responsibilities for these testing tasks, document keys and assumptions for making the chart. This will help us determine who has the right responsibility to do a certain task. And if something was to go wrong, we can go to that right person who was responsible. Also, we did a resource histogram. Basically, the employees outside the consultative forum, user representative. Basically, it shows how many people were need for testing. We had some people with senior testers, we had managers, we had a mix of juniors and senior testers. We just needed to figure out how many people were actually needed. We needed a chart so we could determine which person to send out to these programs. We did a total of 6 weeks of testing periods. We assumed that we needed 1 senior tester for all 6 weeks, 2 juniors testers for the last 4 weeks, 2 user group workers for the first week, 4 user group workers for the last 3 weeks, 2 user group managers for the last 2 weeks. We created a histogram so we can figure out and determine which people will be heading out to these locations. One of the issues we had for the project managers was the ability to effectively work with user group during testing. So we created a MBTI classification, letting them know what team members were more strong thinkers, more hands-on. We did a 1-page describing each person criteria and best fits their application. So we did make a page resolving their issues. And that was it. We completed a whole running case, and till next time, to the next project, Team Hack. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aurelia Giovinazzo, and I am responsible for tasks 27 through 35 of this project. Task 27, we were to develop a risk register. We were supposed to identify 6 potential risks that included negative and positive risks. After that, we were to develop a probability impact matrix. So we were supposed to plot those risks into one of the matrices. We were supposed to assign the numeric value for the probability and impact of each risk, on meeting the main project objective. As you can see, most of our risks were high in the impact, and a few of them were high in probability, and then some of them were medium probability, and one of them was just low probability. For task 29, we were supposed to do a risk response strategy / risk register. We were supposed to develop a response strategy for one of the negative risks and one of the positive risks. We're supposed to enter that information into the risk register. We also wrote a separate paragraph describing what specific tasks would be required to implement the strategy and include time and cost estimates for each strategy as well. For task 30, we were to develop training in-house. Basically, we were supposed to write the company and let them know that we have extensive experience doing internal training. We also wanted to let them know that our staff will have to support the system, so we want to develop the training to minimize future support calls. We wrote a one-page memo to senior management letting them know that. For task 31, we developed a weighted scoring model. Assume that the source selection criteria for evaluating proposals are as follows. Management approach was 15%, technical approach was 15%, past performance was 20%, price was 20%, and interview results and samples were 30%. We were supposed to create a spreadsheet that could be used to enter ratings and calculate scores for each criteria and total weighted scores for 3 proposals. For the next task, which would be incentives, we had to draft, which was task 32, I'm sorry. We had to draft potential clauses that you could include in the contract to provide incentives to the seller based on Manager Health achieving its main goal of improving employee health and lowering healthcare premiums as a result of the project. For task 33, we were to develop a stakeholder register. So we had to prepare a stakeholder register using the preceding information that was given to us for the running case. For task 34, we had to do a stakeholder management strategy. So we had to create a stakeholder management strategy for the project, focusing on members who are not on the project team. Those members were Hillary, Gale, the lead person for supplier A, and a vocal member of the user group. We just basically had to do a one-page stakeholder management strategy on that. And for task 35, we had to do an issue log. So we had to prepare an issue log for the project. This included past issues discussed in prior chapters, such as Yusuf leaving the company, a difficult and vocal member of the user group, and unproductive meetings. All in all, I feel like the group, we feel as a group in project management, this class has allowed us to experience how it is to manage others while trying to complete a larger task. We all were given the responsibility to be project managers for a minimum of 2 weeks during the semester. And the group as a whole, we feel that we have a better understanding of the pressure that project managers feel on a day-to-day basis. We know to understand the pressures of what it is to manage a group and at the same time keep the stakeholders or the professor in this case updated with the progress of the assignment. We feel like we've truly learned a lot. We were blessed to have an actual good group during this semester. We all were able to, even though we all have different schedules, busy lives, we all were able to get together and complete the task on time. Everybody made it a priority to get together, and it was a really good group of us during this semester. So we're glad we learned a lot this semester. We're thankful for this class. We feel like we'll be able to use this, move forward with this, and use this in our careers later on in life. Thank you very much. This is our video.